Hello, this is Sheffield Board Gamers podcast. I'm joined today by Fiona. Hello, Fiona.
Hello.
Hello, and I'm Rick. We've got a lot to talk about in this episode. We're going to have a chat about the games we've been playing this month. We've got an interview with Ruth from the Treehouse Board Game Cafe. We've got a question of the week, which is, have you ever replaced components in a game? Before all that, though, I've been reliving my youth. I've been to an arcade, like an old-fashioned arcade with arcade machines and everything. This is a place called Retrodome that's opened in Barnsley. There's a couple of arcades that I've seen before. I think there's one in Leeds and there's one in Manchester. But I've never actually had a chance to go to those, and Barnsley is a bit closer to home. So this is an arcade with proper old-fashioned arcade machines, but it's a bit different to what you normally see. You don't actually pay for the games themselves. You pay like an entry fee, and all the games are in free play mode. So you can basically just go in all day and just play whatever games you want as many times as you want. You don't have to like put coins in or anything like that. They're all on free play. And they've got all sorts. They've got a good range of games in there. So they've got like real old ones like Frogger and Asteroids and things like that. They've got one of my favourites, which is Ridge Racer. I used to play that.
You see, I never really played arcade games, and I feel like I missed out. I've done it as an adult, but not as a child. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's a really good place. Yeah, it's not like the old arcades which were always a bit dingy and full of cigarette smoke and things like that. It's wide. It's a big open space and it's not nicely lit and everything. There's kids there as well, so it's quite kid friendly. There's a little bar at the front as well where you can get drinks and snacks and things like that. So yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I spent a good couple of hours in there just playing games and wandering around and seeing the old machines and everything. It was really good. Yeah, well, recommend visiting it. It's great.
Have you been to the one in Sheffield, the video games museum?
No, I haven't. No. Have you?
That's amazing. Yes.
Is it?
Yes, I've been to that one. Very similar to what you're describing, actually. They've got kind of modern ones as well as the sort of retro ones. So you've got sort of ones that are lesser known, sort of small independent games, as well as your sort of classics like Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Which is the best game ever.
Yeah. I was going to mention as well, they don't just have old arcade games, they've got like different rooms in there as well. So they've got like a virtual reality room where they've got a headset and like a computer set up and you can go and play that. And they've got like a multiplayer room as well where they've got some Nintendo 64s and some consoles and things. So you can play some of those games as well and sort of play on a couch and play with your friends and things. So there's a few more modern things there as well. But yeah, it's mainly about the main arcade itself. But yeah, that sounds really good. Yeah, I'll have to. I didn't even know there was one in Sheffield. I'll have to check that one out. Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, it used to be in Nottingham and it moved to Sheffield about a year ago.
I'm definitely going to check that out then, because I like the old arcade games. I love those. So, yeah, definitely worth looking at. So what have you been up to, Fiona?
I was playing a bit of D&D over the weekend, Dungeons and Dragons. Not strictly board games, but I think quite often people enjoy a bit of role-playing as well, I think.
Yeah, there's a bit of crossover there, isn't there? Yeah.
There is a bit of crossover. Yeah. That was really good fun. I used to play years ago and kind of hadn't found anyone in recent years to sort of play anything with, so a friend offered to start one up, and that was the first session and really enjoyed it, hoping for some more of that. Also did Vegames, or Vegan Gaming board game group, which I run, which is on the third Sunday of every month at the Red Deer, and that's always good fun. You yourself have been, haven't you, Rick?
Yeah, I've been a few times.
How we met.
Yeah, it's a great place to meet up and play a few games and meet some like-minded people. So yeah, so we've played a few games as well. One of the games that I've been playing recently is a game called Men at Work. This is a kind of dexterity style game by the same publisher as Junkart, which we talked about in the last episode. It's from 2019, so it's a new game, 2 to 5 players, and takes about 45 minutes. This is a dexterity game where you're kind of stacking stuff on top of each other to build up a structure in the middle of the table. So you flip over a card, and basically this will say, add something to the structure. So that might be a girder of a particular colour, or it might be a worker, And then there's also a condition on the card as well. So the worker might have to carry a brick or 2 bricks, or he might have to balance something on his head, or the girder might have to touch, a girder of a similar colour or a different colour, or it has to be the tallest in the structure. So basically, you take your turn and you add something to the structure, and then it goes on to the next player. It's a slightly different to Junkart in that Junkart, you kind of have your own structure. So you're building your own little thing in front of you, whereas this one's kind of a communal one. It's a good game, and I enjoyed it, but it suffers from the same kind of problems that Junkart did. If somebody knocks the table or if somebody stands up too quick, it all kind of collapses down, which is part of the fun. But if it's like in the middle of somebody's go and they've not even touched it and it all collapses, it's a bit of a letdown. With Junkart, it's not really that much of a problem because you've got your own stuff, and it doesn't really matter. It's such a quick game that. It doesn't really matter. You can either rebuild it or you can just move on to the next round. But with Men at Work, you kind of have one central structure that everybody's building. So if that gets, knocked over by mistake, or if somebody knocks it over, it's kind of having to start from scratch again. So it makes the game a little bit longer. But having said that, it is good fun. I think we played it like 2 or 3 times in a row. And it's very tense, especially when you get into my age and your hands are starting to go a bit wobbly. Your eyesight's not that good. It's trying to put bricks onto these little guys' shoulders as they're carrying on this, balancing against something else. It's quite tense, and it's really good fun. So it's a good game, yeah. One that I'd definitely play again, and it's great.
It sounds like you become very unpopular if you knock it over then.
yeah, there are a few clenched fists and gritted teeth when that happens. But it does happen. All you need to do is just pick up your drink or something sometimes, or put it down too hard, and it, everything just just drops down, because it is quite a. Sometimes you lean things up against other things, and then like they're resting on on an edge, and it's really precarious. So yeah, you need to have a solid foundation to actually play it. It takes between 30 and 45 minutes, so it doesn't take too long. It's quite good. I enjoyed it. Not quite as good as Junkart, I don't think. I think Junkart's a little bit better. So what have you been playing, Fiona?
I wanted to talk about 2 sort of movie-themed ones, but I'll just talk about the first one right now, which is Stannis Rising. Obviously, there's the comic book as well, but it is based more on the kind of Avengers film. That's from 2018, so it's a relatively new game. It's co-op, but as some co-ops are, pretty difficult. We actually played it at the Vegames last time, at the board game group that I mentioned recently, and there was 3 games of it, and they lost 3 games, one of which lasted about 5 minutes. I think the setup probably took longer than the game. I think part of that is because it's very much a dice rolling luck game as much as it is strategy. So you can have an amazing strategy and you could still lose. And unfortunately, that's what happened 3 times. So essentially, you win by defeating the most baddies, a certain number of baddies, before Thanos gains his full power with the Infinity Stones. He has sort of a set up where he can turn and face you and attack you. So there's a little bit of guesswork, a little bit of luck. All your actions are dictated by your dice rolls. Good fun. Quite a simple game. I think it looks initially like it's going to be harder than it actually is. Fairly fast. It claims to be 60 to 90 minutes, but I think we were sort of nearer to the 60-minute mark with it. I'd play it again. Quite like a co-op game that's quite hard because you want to feel challenged, and I think the ones where you keep losing, you sometimes go back to more because you kind of want to win.
Yeah, I played this one as well with you. With John, I think it was, and we didn't do very well, but I enjoyed it. I like a good co-op game, and this one's one that sort of you can jump into and play. The main visual point about this game is Thanos himself. There's actually a big plastic figure, isn't there, that kind of sits in the board and spins around and points at like different sectors. That's really cool. And
that was kind of the main reason I think we bought it. It's just the visual appeal of it.
and the stones that go in the glove as well, they're pretty cool.
Yeah, were you in the game that lasted a matter of minutes?
No. That was after
Maybe they had 4 games in that case and lost every single one.
Yeah.
Maybe it's impossible. Maybe they've designed an impossible game.
Yeah, possibly. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the dice rolling. That was quite good fun. I don't mind a bit of randomness in the game every now and then, and especially in this one, it's not too long. Like I say, probably about an hour-ish to finish. I think it probably took a bit longer than because when we first played it, we were kind of learning the game as well, so we were kind of figuring it out and stuff. So that took it a little bit longer, but yeah, you can easily play it in an hour, can't you? And and have a good time out of it. Yeah. But yeah, as far as co-op games go, I quite enjoyed it. It was a good game.
I also liked it was a relatively quick setup because some games you just think, do you know what? I can't be bothered to play it because it's going to take too long to set it up. And this isn't one of them.
Yeah, it's just a few decks of cards, isn't it, that you shuffle up and that's it, pretty much. So, yeah, good one. Another game that I've been playing is one called Deep Sea Adventure. This is one that comes in a tiny little box. It's one of the Oink games. So they all come in kind of the similar size box. So it's really tiny, this one. You can basically just chuck it in your pocket. It's from 2014. It plays between 2 and 6 players. It takes about 30 minutes. This is a push your luck game. So you're on a submarine and you've only got a certain amount of air between all of the players. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to dive down and get some treasure from the seabed and then bring it back up without running out of air. So you've got a couple of dice, you roll some dice, you move down that far, and then you can decide whether you want to turn back or stay where you are before you roll the dice, and then you roll your dice. So you can either go down further into the depths to get more treasure, or you can head back up and carry the treasure back with you. It gets harder as people start picking up treasure because the air goes down quicker. And there's not much air in this submarine, so as soon as people start picking things up, it does run out really quickly. So it's very easy to sort of when you're first playing it to go down a couple of times, pick up some treasure, and then oh no, I'm dead. And then you play a second round, and then you go down again, get a bit more treasure, and oh no, I'm dead again. So
it sounds similar to Clank. Has it got that same? If you've ever played that.
It is, yeah. There's only one route going down. So on Clank, there's like a big board, isn't there? You can kind of go off in different directions. But on this, there's just one route down and one route back up again.
Oh, okay.
So it is very similar, but it's a kind of play for points. So basically, the treasure, if you get it back to the boat, you get some points. I found that it is quite lucky and quite random, but because of the length, I'm not really bothered about it. Like I say, it's like 30 minutes, and that's probably maximum. It'll probably take 20 minutes most of the time. So you roll a couple of dice and you move, and the only decision really is whether you go down there or you go back up again. And like I say, once people start picking stuff up, you don't really get a choice. You start heading back, and then you kind of roll the dice and see how far you get. So I'm not sure about if I'd want to play it all the time, but because it's so quick, I would be happy to play it. Whenever it pops up. I don't think it's a fantastic game, but as a quick diversion or a filler in between, if you're waiting for somebody else to finish, or if you're in the middle of eating food or something, it's pretty good, pretty quick. And like I said, it actually fits in your pocket as well. It's like a really tiny little box where it comes in, just a few tokens in there, a couple of dice, and that's it. So that is Deep Sea Adventure.
My next one is my second film-based board game, which is Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh, I love that film.
Yeah, it's just so ridiculous, and the board game is also quite ridiculous. So that came out 2018, so that's, again, quite a new game. I must admit, I bought this game, I got it for my birthday, September last year, and I've only played it in the last month for the first time. And part of that is because it's such a beast, and it does have quite a lot of rules. And I just felt it's one of those games you have to play it with the right people that are going to sit down for a sort of fairly medium pushing into heavyweight games. It says it takes 60 to 120 minutes. It may have just been us, but it took us 4 hours.
Epic.
And
you'd be quicker watching the film.
You would. You could watch it a couple of times in that time. And it also took me about an hour to set it up. And okay, yes, it was the first time set it up, but there is a hell of a lot of components in this game, which in a way is a good thing. To have lots of choice and lots of nice little figures and things. It's got a similar sort of feel to Zombicide, Dead of Winter, and even Fallout, if you've ever played any of those, in that you've got sort of you versus the baddies and it's co-op, and you have lots of different things you can do in your turn, which can slow it down sometimes. I think people get analysis paralysis where they literally can't decide what to do. So essentially it's in 2 acts as well, which I quite like. So you have this massive, beautiful board that has the first half, which is Quest for Little China. And then when you get to trigger a certain point, it flips over to the final showdown where you have to defeat Lopan and 3 of his storms to win the game. We got within, I think the game was going to end in either the next round or the round after that, and we lost at the last second. So we've been playing for all these hours and then still lost. But I would play it again, but it's with the caution that you have to play it with people that are prepared to like really sit down and participate, because you definitely have to work as a team at this one to win, because it is difficult and you have lots of quests and objectives to complete. So you need everyone to do their little bit and to do it fast, because if you don't, then time will run out and you've lost.
Do you play as like characters from a film then? Is that the?
Oh yeah. So that's another good thing, is that it's 2 to 4 players. In fact, you might even be able to play it by yourself. I think it might even be 1 to 4 play. Right, 1 to 4 players. Yeah. You get, I think it's either 6 or 7 characters to choose from, so you can play people that have they all have different abilities as well. So you can select your favourite character or someone that you thinks has the best ability, and then as well you've got lots of little quests to complete. So essentially, the replayability of it is fantastic. You do have a lot of different options where the game's never going to be the same again, and sometimes with dice rolls it can affect, or where you complete a mission can affect what's going to happen next. So yeah, really recommend it.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, like we were saying before, if it's the first few times you play it, if it is quite a complicated game, it'll probably take a bit longer. But once you've got the rules down and you kind of know what you're doing, that'll sort of drop down onto the time that you take to play it. Yeah. And as long as you're having fun, as long as you're enjoying yourself and you're doing other things, you might be chatting in between as well. That probably always adds to the length as well. Yeah. But that sounds great. Is this the one with the little miniatures on? Because I was looking at this on Board Game Geek, and there's a card game, the big game, and then there's one with little miniatures in.
No,
is this the miniatures one?
I have the big ass heavy box with the miniatures.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I saw it and I thought, oh, that looks amazing. But, it's quite expensive game because of all the components. But I got it as a birthday present, so I was quite happy about
that. Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah, I love the film, and it's a bit of a cult classic now, isn't it? I mean, it's one that a lot of people have heard of. So to actually, when you get invested in the theme of it, like the Thanos one, if you're into like the Avengers and Marvel and stuff like that, you probably like that a little bit more. And if you're into sort of 80s movies and action films and things like that, you probably like this one as well.
Yeah. Well, they've really nailed it, I think, with that one. I mean, there's been some other games like Labyrinth, which I haven't played, but you look at the ratings for that and it's atrocious, whereas this one has got quite a high rating, and I think with good reason. But I think it's probably one to play at home with friends rather than at a board game event. Essentially, that's all you'll play if you take it, and it's good to sort of mix it up a bit, isn't it, and play quite a few games with different people. I think I never really play heavyweight games at board game groups. Don't know about yourself, but
not very often. Okay, another one, final one from me, is a game called Castles of Calderdale. This is from 2017. It's by David Wilkinson. Plays between 1 and 4 players, so this is one that you can solo play as well, and it takes about half an hour. It takes between half an hour and 90 minutes, depending on how AP you are. It's if you've played Carcassonne, it's a similar sort of thing. There's tiles in the middle of the middle of the table, and you're basically building up a castle that's made up of these tiles. So the tiles have three kinds of building materials on them. It could be stone, wood, or like a Tudor kind of background in it. And similar to Carcassonne, you put the tiles together, and the same sides have to match. So you have to put wood against wood and stone against stone and things like that. So basically, you're building up your castle. You're taking a tile from the middle of the table, adding it into your castle. But the difference is between this one is that you can rearrange your tiles whenever you want, and that's why I say it's kind of a bit. It could be more than 30 minutes because you take a tile and then you think, oh, that'll fit ideally right bang in the middle of my castle that I built, but then you have to rearrange everything else around it to try and get it to fit. So it actually comes with a little sand timer, a little egg timer, so you can actually put it on the table and then flip it over when people are going, I can do this, and spending like 20 minutes trying to rearrange the castle. But it's a quick kind of family game. This is not a lot to it. The tiles can be oriented in any direction, so it doesn't matter which way around they are, apart from the ones that have got flags on. There's some got flags on and they've got to go the right way up, so that kind of restricts you slightly. At the end of the game, you get bonus points for how complete your castle is. You lose points if there's any like missing pieces and things like that. You had to pull your points. You had it with points for your flags, and most points wins. Played this a few times, and it's a good fun. Again, this is kind of a filler game. Probably takes like 25 minutes, half an hour to play. It's easy to explain. You just grab a piece and put it in your castle somewhere. There's not much to it more than that, really. But it's good fun trying to sort of optimize it and get all the pieces in the right places. The tiles are quite big as well. They're bigger than the Carcassonne tiles. So once you've actually finished, you've actually got a castle in front of you that you've built, and it's like half wood and half stone. It's got these bits coming off it and like turrets sticking out and things like that. So that's really cool at the end to see that. So
that does sound fun.
Yeah, it is. It's a good one.
It sounds a bit like King Domino, if you've played that,
yes,
which I really enjoy. But obviously, you place things down and then you're kicking yourself because you wish you'd had the hindsight to put it somewhere. So it's good that you get that chance to rearrange it in that game.
Yeah. There is a little bit of that. Sometimes you take a tile that's got something on it that you wanted, and then you think, oh, I'll just put that to one side for a minute, and I'll find a place to put it. Kind of once I've built it up a little bit, and then it gets to the end of the game, like 15 minutes later, and you think, I've got nowhere to put this now, so you just have to leave it out somewhere. The art on this is really nice as well. It's like a whimsical kind of fantasy thing. So like on some of the turrets, it's got little dragons on there, and it's got squirrels and animals and things on the pieces, and it looks really nice. And the artwork's really good, and it's quite good that way. Yeah, it's a nice quick filler game, easy to play. Not that much strategy, I don't think. It's kind of just putting stuff wherever it'll fit, really. But enough to make it interesting.
I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Recommending that one.
Okay, so that's all the games we've played recently. We've got coming up next a recording from a club event. So this is Dave. He's been playing Star Wars Outer Rim.
Hi Dave, can you tell us a bit about what you're playing?
Yes, indeed. We're playing Outer Rim, which is a recent Fantasy Flight game set in the Star Wars universe. We each play various members of the scum and villainy in the Star Wars universe, trying to become the most infamous. It's a pick-up and deliver game similar to Firefly.
How are you doing?
Terribly so far.
Okay. Well, you're playing with Ked and Lizzie. I mean, it's to be expected.
Absolutely, yes.
Are you going to be here all night?
No, I'm going to be leaving after this because I've got an early start tomorrow. I've got to go to Swindon.
Looks like a long game, though.
It can be, but we all know how to play, so that means it can move fairly quick.
Okay. Thanks very much.
Firefly was one of the games at the club that I think that one of the first times I went down there that the guys were playing. It's one of those games that starts off long, and then you add all the expansions in, it gets longer and longer and longer. But some people really like it. Again, similar to like Thanos and the other games we talked about. If people like the theme, they're willing to sort of play it and they enjoy it.
I'm absolutely dying to play that game.
So Star Wars Outer Rim is a kind of similar feeling kind of game where you're kind of jetting around the galaxy and picking up stuff and delivering it all over the place. But I've not actually played this one myself, but sounds like a good one. So it's a bit quicker than Firefly, but you're doing very similar sort of things. So the guys there seem to like it quite a lot.
Yeah, I can't say I've played that one.
No.
But back to Firefly though. I had the Shiny Dice Firefly games. There's actually been a few. There's the massive one, which I've never played but really want to. And Shiny Dice was terrible. And I actually sold one of the few games I've sold. So avoid.
It's annoying that when you quite like an IP and then you get a game and you're really excited to play it and you play it and you think it's not quite what I expected.
No, absolutely
That's a shame. I actually got told off because I admitted a while ago that I hadn't actually seen it. I know.
Boo. Well, I'm going. End of podcast. Cancel.
But I did get told off, so I have actually downloaded it. I've watched it now. So I have. And I watched the film as well not long ago. That was on TV, so I watched that. Was that Serenity?
Serenity, yes.
Yeah, that was really good. Yeah, I enjoyed it. So I can have my geek credentials back now.
Okay.
I can say that I've seen it.
You're forgiven.
Okay, so next thing is we have a fantastic board game cafe in Sheffield. Treehouse has been open for a couple of years now, and I was lucky enough to speak to Ruth, who's the co-owner of the Treehouse Board Game Cafe. So here's myself speaking to Ruth about the Treehouse and what they do there. Hello everyone, I'm here at Treehouse Board Game Cafe and I'm here with Ruth. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. So I'm Ruth Haigh. I'm one of the owners of the Treehouse. I set the Treehouse up with my husband Andy a couple of years ago. Yeah, pleased to be here.
Can you tell us a bit about the Treehouse, please? What you do here and how it works?
Absolutely. So the Treehouse is Sheffield's first and currently only board game cafe. We have a library of currently around 550 board games, plus all the other stuff you'd expect in a cafe. Menu of food and drinks. We're licensed, so we've got a full bar, craft beers and stuff. And basically the way the setup works, people generally book in for either 2 or 4 hours. There's a cover charge, which is £5 per person for 4 hours, £2.50 for 2 hours. And that gives you use of the space, access to the games library, and then we've got staff who are all very keen to make recommendations and help you out with the rules and things. So it's designed to be like a good way of getting into the hobby, exploring some new games, without all the hassle of having to wade through big rule books. And
there's a huge wall of games at the back there. There's like plenty of variety. So there's over 500 there. So there's a lot of choice for people to go in and play.
That's it, yeah. We've tried to sort of set the library up so there's something for everybody. There's all the kind of old classics that people might have grown up with. We've got Monopoly and Scrabble and all that kind of set. But then we've got all your kind of newer hobby games. We've got some really big heavy things. You can book in for 12 hours and play Twilight Imperium if you want to. Or you can just come in and just sort of dabble around in the quicker ones for a couple of hours and see what takes your fancy.
You mentioned the bar, and you've got beers on here. You have soft drinks, and there's like various teas and coffees and things. It's really good that you've got like a good stock and a good choice of drinks for people to have.
Yeah, we've got all sorts. We try and sort of focus our. We sort of work a lot with local suppliers. We get our baked goods from Seven Hills Bakery, who do a great job of cakes and make lovely sourdough that we use for all of our grilled cheese and stuff. And then on the beer front, we try and keep that local too. So we get our lager from Aberdale and just a selection of Yorkshire and Lancashire's bestest craft beers.
So you should just do board games here. There's lots of events that are going on sort of throughout the week. Can you tell us about some of those ones?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that we've been doing right back from when the cafe opened is role playing. We're just in a bit of a changeover point with that at the moment. So a few of the staff had been running Dungeons and Dragons groups in a universe called Solcombe that they'd created sort of specifically for the cafe. So we ran 5 seasons, sort of 6-session seasons within that universe. So that was really great. We had sort of this sort of long continuity over 18 months with the same group of players coming back each time. And because there were sort of several dungeon masters writing together and writing in parallel, they could do some really interesting things. So like there'll be certain sessions where the group should be interacting with each other, maybe to defeat the big baddie. and then sort of going back to exploring as their separate sort of team of adventurers. Yeah, so that was really exciting. It's just kind of all wound to a close now. But what that does mean is that there's lots more opportunities now for new players to get involved with the role-playing that we're doing. So we're having a season of one-shot sessions over the summer, running, so some of them are Dungeons & Dragons, but also some different stuff. We've been running Honey Heist, which is a role-playing game where all the players are bears trying to complete a heist to steal some honey. That's pretty cool. The writer of it actually got in touch after he saw that he was running it and came and ran the sessions for our Games Masters. So that was pretty awesome. They were very excited about that. And then come the autumn, we're going to be starting to run kind of standalone seasons of six sessions, using some different role-playing systems and some different settings. So we'll be advertising the details of that quite shortly. But that's all kicking off kind of mid-September. And the idea is so that if we've got new players coming through, there's always something starting within the next kind of few weeks that they can get involved in if they want to.
I've been told to mention the Playtest UK as well. People who want to design their own games can come and test it out here and join other people with the same sort of ideas. That's
right, yeah. So that happens, that is the second Wednesday of each month. We've had some really nice turnouts for that, and we tend to get different games coming through each time. So there's a really nice little community building up there. Yeah, so that's one of the things that we have going on monthly. We also have a night with Burton Street Foundation for people with learning disabilities and people that care for them. We have a monthly quiz, which is actually, I think, probably our most popular event. That sort of sells out. Sells out every month. That's on the first Sunday of the month. There's our social gaming sessions that are also Sunday evenings. That's once a month, where basically you can just turn up and play games with whoever's here. And we've also been running, so there's a game called Blood on the Clock Tower that's just finished on Kickstarter quite recently. There's a guy in Derby who's got a sort of a demo copy of that who sort of tours the conventions. And also comes here and runs that once a month. So that's a game of, it's like a social deduction game, lots of bluffing and deception and intrigue. We've been running that once a month for sort of groups of 16 players. So it's a bit of a kind of epic session. That's been going down really well. Yeah. Looking forward to seeing how that develops.
You also do like special events as well. You do like weddings and birthdays and things like that.
Yep, absolutely. We get quite a lot of big groups booking in. Like board games. We've got lots at the kind of party game end of the spectrum. So I think it's really nice. It's a good choice for people who want a night out, but want something just a little bit like maybe more intimate and lower key than going out in town and going to all the noisy bars and clubs. So we get a lot of that kind of thing. We had a wedding reception the weekend just gone.
Yeah, that's really
good. So that's like a good way of like a celebration with a bit of a twist.
So, what's the current favourite game that's been played at the cafe?
That's always a difficult question.
There's not games in the library. Yeah, I can imagine it would be. So we've just had this year's Field de Jar announcement, the big German board gaming prize, and we were pretty pleased that just won that one. That's the game that's been going down really well at the cafe. I think it's not necessarily the most appealing box, and it doesn't really have a theme, so people often look a little bit dubious at first, but I've never seen a group not kind of really enjoy that. So I think that's a great kind of starter game for larger groups. And then one of last year's winners, Quacks of Quedlinsburg, has been a perennial staff favourite since we got that one in. So that's rather than a deck building game, that's a bag building game where you have some tokens in your potion ingredients bag that you add to your cauldron on your turn. And if you're lucky, then you create something great that lets you acquire more ingredients. Or if you're unlucky, then your cauldron explodes. It's game over. That's a really nice kind of just sort of, I think, towards the starter end of Euro gaming, quite a nice gateway gaming into. Yeah, it's a nice little family game. Yeah. So how do people find you if people want to book a table? What's the best way of doing that?
So the best way to book is via our website. We are www.treehousesheffield.com. There's a little booking widget on the site, so you can just make your reservation that way, or if that's not your preferred way of doing it, you can just give us a call and we'll book you on. The website also has details of all the events coming up. There's an events calendar on there. Probably the other best way of keeping up with what's going on here is via our Facebook page. If you just look up Treehouse Board Game Cafe on Facebook, you'll definitely find us. We're also on Instagram and Twitter.
Thank you very much for that, and thanks for joining me and speaking to me today. Thank you.
Lovely talking to you. Thanks, Rick.
Okay.
So that was Ruth, who's the co-owner with Andy at Treehouse Board Game Cafe. Have you been there, Fiona?
Oh yes, I've been quite a lot of times. So the first year that it opened, I actually had the membership, and I should have renewed it really. So we went there for quite a lot of board games in its first year, and then in more recent times, I've kind of been for some of their role-playing games actually that they mentioned. So I've been for the Solken for season 1 and 2, and also fairly recently the Call of Cthulhu one-shot game, which was amazing.
Wow. If
they run it again. I think last time I went to actually play board games was for somebody's birthday. It's actually a really good venue for birthdays, because you can get group bookings and get through quite a lot of games in the sort of allotted 4 hours, I think. And then you don't have to tidy up after yourself.
That's always a bonus. Yeah. I've been a few times as well. It's a fantastic place. It's quite a big space, and it's really well lit. The furniture's really good. The tables are really good. The chairs are comfy. They've got a long bar along one side that does really good food and drinks and things. That's great. And like you said, the library's fantastic as well. They've got loads of choice there, so you can play something. They've likely got something that you know how to play, or something new. Either way, they've got loads of choice there. And I've not done much role playing myself. I used to play D&D ages ago, but I've not played any for a long time. But they do campaigns, and they do like one shots as well. So you can just go for like the one sitting and play a game, and you don't have to worry about investing the time in like a huge campaign, and you just have like one game, and that's kind of it. So that's really good.
Yeah, it means you don't have to have any experience either, which is quite nice. You can just sort of sit down and pick it up. And again, sort of running one of these campaigns, it is a massive task, and that's part of the reason I've not done it in Sheffield, is just because I just don't feel I've got the time to commit to doing it. So it's good to. Yeah. I'd much rather pay someone else to do it for me, essentially. And they have a good beer selection, so it's win-win.
Yeah, the role playing is one of those things that you kind of play all evening, isn't it? You kind of start at 6 o'clock and finish at midnight, or whatever. It is quite a time sink, but like I said, this takes some of that away and lets you play sort of without worrying about it. So how do you get on with the characters then? Do you have kind of pre-rolled characters, or do you make your own while you're there, or how does that work?
So with the one shots, because you're only there for a few hours, they will have pre-generated characters. They basically read them out, and then you kind of, as a free-for-all, grab the one that sort of speaks to you the most. But then for the campaigns, you create your own character, and then as you go on to the different seasons, that character comes with you, and you sort of level them up as you go.
Yeah, I'll have to try the Cthulhu game one day. That sounds really good.
That was good. Yeah. I wish to do a campaign of that rather than just a one-shot, because I enjoyed that more, actually, but maybe it's because I've got a bit of a thing for sort of Lovecraft universe. But it's good fun.
Yeah, it's a great place to go, and definitely call in if you're passing by. Okay, so moving on then, our question of the week is... have you ever had any missing or damaged components in your games? So the reason I ask this is that it has happened to me a couple of times. One of the games that I bought was a game called Origin, and you get like little round discs with that, and one of those was missing completely just out of the box. So it was all shrink wrapped, everything obviously brand new, and one was just not there. So what I did was I looked online, and luckily you can contact the publisher. So for most sort of missing components or damaged components out of the box, things like that, a lot of the time what you can do is just contact the publisher, and they'll have spare parts and stuff that they can send out. So basically I just filled in a form online, contacted them, and they sent me one out, which was really good. And then the other time that it's happened is I bought a game called Magic: Heroes of Dominaria. So this is a board game of the the CCG. This is a board game version of that. But in this one, you had some little meeples, and one of them was kind of cut incorrectly, so it was kind of on a slant, and not really standing up properly. So it's a bit unfortunate. And
the drunk meeple.
yeah, it's kind of a customised copy now, so I've got that to use. But it's the same thing with that, really. I just went online, filled in a form, sent it off, and then about 3 or 4 weeks later, I got a new one in the post. So it came in this huge bag, like a big, massive, like an A4 sort of padded bag with one meeple in it, which is kind of funny. But it's surprising. I mean, it must cost them a fortune. I mean, if you imagine like a board game and how many bits there are, and how many cubes, dice, cards, whatever else, you need to make sure everyone's got everything in it that you need. It must be a massive job, and there will be stuff that that slips through the cracks and that goes out without the right stuff in, or that gets damaged in transit or whatever. So it is kind of expected that sometimes. And I was surprised that the publishers can just do that. Can just send stuff out basically for free. I mean, if you've got a new game, you expect it to be right. But what happens if you've got like a game that's a couple of years old and you've lost a cube down the back of the settee or something? If you send off to a publisher for that, they don't know how long you've had the game, or if you bought it second hand or whatever. So I don't know how they manage that really.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not like they come with a warranty period or anything. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know how they'd prove it. Unless it's been out of print for 10 years, then they might sort of query it, perhaps. Yeah.
Sometimes you get cards that have been misprinted, or if there's something that's slightly wrong, and they'll send out stickers and stuff. One thing I saw in the news recently, I don't know if you've seen this, but the new Pandemic game, the Legacy version, not the Legacy, the Collector's Edition. I think it's like a 10th anniversary collector's edition.
Oh, the one in the tin box that's
it comes in a tin.
Expensive.
It's quite expensive, and it comes with all this new stuff. And they've actually misprinted the board. They've missed off one of the connections between the cities. So basically, what they've done is
kind of important.
You'd have thought somebody would have caught that. They've sent out some stickers. So you kind of can send off to the publisher again, so similar sort of thing, and you get a sticker and then you stick it on the board. But when you're buying a premium product, it's not so really ideal. That is, it's not fantastic.
I've never had a part missing from a game, but with Big Trouble in Little China, they did actually misprint the rules for the final stage. So there was a piece of paper in there sort of saying, ignore the rule book, do this instead. But I've more had to customise games where I don't feel there was enough components. I've had to put my own in rather than find bits missing. Sort of like, I don't know if you've ever played Mintworks. The little...
Oh, yeah.
I absolutely love that game. So
it comes in a little tin, doesn't it?
It comes in a little tin, yeah. So the components are essentially bits of wood that are mint shaped, but we kept finding that we ran out of the tokens, and it doesn't say anything about what you should do if you run out. So we were ripping up bits of paper to have extra money for the game, and we actually lost that copy because it was such a small little game. So when it got reprinted, we bought it again, and they actually had different coloured tokens that were counted as 5s rather than just having the 1 tokens. So it clearly been a misjudgment on their part for components, and they'd had to sort of supplement it in the reprint. Munchkin as well, that's another one. I feel like that should have something in there. If you've ever played any of the versions of Munchkin.
I've not played that one, no.
Oh, okay. So that's, again, similar to role. It's not the same as roleplay, but it's kind of based on D&D in a way. But with that, you go up and down levels quite a lot, but there's nothing to record those levels. So we usually end up using like a D10 dice. Everyone has one of those to kind of turn it over so we know how many levels everyone has. Because once you reach a certain level, you win the game. So it's like, that's how you mark that you've won, but yet there's nothing to kind of record that comes with the game.
Yeah, I think most gamers will have a bag of dice somewhere, won't they? They use for various things, either starting player or like you say, counting up things as things. Yeah, one of the things I bought is some generic coins, some metal coins.
Okay, yeah.
Any games that kind of use coins or money in some capacity, you can kind of use these. You can throw in these metal coins. They're quite nice. You can use them for pretty much anything really, but they're quite good for like 7 Wonders and things like that. Yeah. Where you get like coins and they're just like cardboard kind of pieces, I don't know if you've seen this website as well. There's a website called Board Game Extras. They actually sell board game components as well. So things like cubes and meeples and tokens and things like that. If you are missing something, you can sometimes have a look on there and find something that's if not exactly the same, then that's pretty similar, and replace them that way as well.
So you might even actually be able to upgrade your parts as well.
Yeah, I know. I know they sell stuff for Pandemic and Ticket to Ride and things like that, where they sell like wooden trains for Ticket to Ride and upgrade like plastic components for Pandemic and things like that. So yeah, if you want to sort of bling out your game, you can you can do that as well. Yeah,
that sounds dangerous.
Yeah. What about sleeves? Do you buy sleeves for any of your games, card sleeves?
I have only bought sleeves for a game once, and it might be the reason that I haven't bought them since, because it was for Alien Legendary card building game. I don't know if you've ever played any of the legendary board games, but they come with hundreds upon hundreds of cards.
Oh no!
They're like deck building games, and you play it over. Yeah. It basically they have different themed ones. So I have the Alien one. You're sensing a theme here with film-related board games. I have quite a few, and it's basically notorious for the amount of cards that it comes with, and the setup is an absolute nightmare every time you play it, and it takes you through the films in order. And me and my other half spent quite a long time sleeving all of those, and then we've played it once and never played it again. Yeah,
I think a lot of my games, they kind of design, I bought them to play. So some people are a bit precious about the games, aren't they? And they want everything to be perfect, and they're kind of more collectors than players. So they'll keep like shrink wrap on the games and things like that. But mine are sort of there to be played, really. So I don't mind if people are eating and drinking and things like that while they're playing games. If something gets ruined, then I'm not too fussed about it. I have had drinks spilled on games before, and it's just all right. That happens sometimes. But yeah, I can see why some people would want to, especially if you're a lot of players who play like CCGs like Magic, they just sleeve everything, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they can pay a fortune for some of those cards, so that's probably why.
Yeah. I think better quality ones are better. They can add up, can't they? If you, especially like you say, if you've got a game with a lot of cards in.
Yeah.
Even if you're buying like 100 or something, they're not cheap, and that if you're adding that to the game, to the cost of a game anyway, sometimes it's cheaper just to buy another game to.
Yeah, absolutely.
If something does happen, so.
Yeah. I'm quite guilty of buying lots of games and not necessarily playing them very often, or maybe playing them once. So. Yeah. Would it be worth me sleeving them? Possibly not. I'm not entirely. I can't even remember now why we decided to buy all these sleeves for that game. But it seems like a waste of time in thinking back on it. Really.
Yeah. I've got Splendor, and it's one of Tracy's favourite games, my wife's favourite games, and we've probably played that 60 times, 65 times, something like that. And the cards you can't even tell really. How often do you have to play a game before it? The cards wear out or they start fraying or whatever. You're probably not going to get to that unless you've got your favourites, and then what's the point? Then you might as well just buy another game, like I say.
Yeah, I agree.
I did actually play a game of Citadels once. And I don't know what I've been doing to these cards, but they're all ragged around the edges, and they're all falling to bits and folded and bent and all sorts. So that was probably a bit too far. I don't think that was really from wear and tear. That was just because they were treated when they were being played with. But yeah, that was a bit of a ragged old game that had been seen some love, I think you'd probably say. But,
I think Citadels gets people very, very angry. So maybe that's what happened. They've been clawing at the cards.
Yeah, when the warlord comes out and starts destroying buildings.
Oh yes, that warlord.
The assassin says, I'll pick the king, and the person who's been the king 4 times in a row goes, oh no, not again. Yeah, so that was one that I bought some sleeves for, but again, I've only played it like 7 or 8 times, so even then it's probably not even worth it. But with the sleeves as well, sometimes the cards are different sizes. I don't know if you noticed this, but sometimes. Yes. The cards are slightly smaller or slightly bigger, and so you buy some, magic side sleeves and they don't fit, so you have to go away and buy some more anyway. So,
and they stick together as well.
Yeah.
I actually had some left over from putting the legendary cards in the sleeves. So I have a game called Bloody Inn. So I was like, I've got some cards left, I'll put them in that. And we played that at the last Vegames and kept finding that you get 2-3 cards stuck to each other. So, people end up with a better hand than maybe they should have because they've got these extra cards that are stuck to the back of the ones in their hand.
Is the cards up the sleeves you have to worry about?
Exactly.
Sleeve, not the ones in the sleeves.
Yeah, that's it.
So I think that pretty much wraps it up for this episode. Thank you very much for joining me. It's been a pleasure having you on. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. If people need to find you, what's the best way of getting hold of you?
So if anyone ever fancies coming along to our vegan board game group, again, third Sunday of every month, you can find us at Vegames Sheffield on Facebook. That's Vegames as in VE, Victor Echo Games, all one word. Quite a friendly bunch. It is an adults only event, just because if you're playing something like Cards Against Humanity, it's probably not the most child friendly environment. Yeah, all experience levels welcome. New members very, very welcome.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. It's great. The people there are really friendly. Fiona's friendly, and John and all the other guys who go there. It's really good. So yeah, if you fancy going to play some games, pop along and see them. Thank you again for joining me. Until next time, I'm Rick. Thank you, Fiona, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.